This is the day Casey proposed to me. So I was totally asleep in my nice warm bed, and in the very, very early hours of the morning, still dark, he busted into my apartment, busted into my room where my roommate and I were sleeping, and his best friend Troy and him like basically kidnapped me, took blindfold and put it around my eyes, put headphones on so I couldn't hear, and carried me to Troy's truck and put me in the back of the truck and told me I had to lay down. So here I am in the back of Troy's truck. I knew it was them, so I wasn't like freaking out. I was being kidnapped by somebody. All right. And we're driving. It's one of those things that when you don't know where you're going, you are trying to like follow every single turn that the truck makes. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I think we're going toward the train station. Nope. I think we're going toward the airport. Nope. And then finally I just gave up because the drive was long enough that I lost count of all the turns and stuff. But I guess Troy, when he was driving, he was also doing some unnecessary turns so that I would become confused. Pretty smart guy. Or he just knew me too well. So we get to the airport, and guys, this was before 9/11. Okay, so security measures were nothing like they are today. We got to the airport. Troy dropped us off at the curbside drop off. We went into the airport, and Casey had me sit on a bench. I am still blindfolded and I still have headphones on. Okay. So I'm sitting on the bench and I'm waiting for Casey. I don't know what he's doing, but he said, just stay here and no peeking. And so of course I'm tempted. Okay. And I could hardly hear suitcase wheels going by. And in those days, I was traveling probably every other weekend because that was my biggest like adventure. And I had this whole like mindset in those days that if you didn't go do something exciting during your weekends, then you wouldn't remember that weekend when you look back. And so, I mean, I was out doing stuff all the time. Very adventurous life. It was fun. So I heard the suitcase wheels, and I knew those suitcase wheels. And so I was like, I wonder what we're doing. Are we at the train station? Are we at the airport? I think we're at the airport. So anyway, Casey goes and checks us in. And when he checked me in, he basically took my ID from me and he just pointed at me to the flight attendant or the, cashier person at the desk, check-in person. He says, that's her, like way across the room. There is no way we would be able to do that these days with security measures, right? Well, then we could. So this was back in 1998, actually this coming weekend of 1998 when he proposed. So we walk to the gate. I'm still blindfolded, still have headphones on. We wait for the plane to show up. The whole time I am blindfolded and have headphones on. And knowing my husband, he loved all of the looks that everyone around us was probably giving him. As I was sitting there, just trying to go along with the game. So we're getting onto the plane. And he finally decides, okay, Carrie, you can take the blindfold off and you can take the headphones off. And by then I had already figured out that we were at the airport. So we're getting onto the plane, and his thought process is, well, we'll get on the plane and then she's going to have to sit on the plane for 5 hours and she's not going to know where we're going. Well, I take the blindfold off and we walked into the first cabin, and at the back, there's a screen of the Hawaiian Islands. He's like, oh, shoot. I'm like, Hawaii? And so he's like, dang it. So I was like, well, good. I wouldn't have wanted to sit on the plane for 5 hours wondering where the heck we're going. Like 5 hours, I would have thought Europe at that point. Okay. So we're on the plane. We show up to Hawaii. We go and stay with some friends who actually live just down the hill from this point right here. And the next day we got up and drove around the island to a big wave surf contest. So um, back in the days when I was working in the industry and competing and stuff, I had been around a lot of the pro surfers here and there. And so when we show up to this contest, I mean, all of them were there. This was a big deal. So I'll also tell you guys this, it was not at one of your main beaches like Pipeline or Sunset, Waimea, those that you hear about all the time. But this was at more of a private, like locals beach, but the waves were amazing. And so I understood why they had the contest there. Well, it wasn't easy to find. So we had stopped at a 7-Eleven to find the rest of the way to this surf contest. And when we were in 7-Eleven, I was back by the refrigerator section. And I remember looking at the sky, and I just happened to say, do you know where this surf contest is? We're trying to get there. And he's like, oh yeah, going right back there. You want to follow me? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. So we get into the car, and you guys, in Southern California, like I knew a lot of the surfers, but not some of the Hawaiian locals. And this was one of the Hawaiian locals who I'd seen in the magazines. And we're driving along, and I'm kind of sitting there thinking, and I go, Casey, I think we're following Kalani Robb. And he's like, oh, we should ask. So when we pulled up to the contest, like, is your name Kalani? He said, yeah. Are you Kalani Robb? Yeah. I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay. So we, and I'm not like a starstruck kind of person, but I thought it was pretty cool. And he's the nicest person in the world. So we, with my 10-minute interaction with the guy, right? So we go and we're watching the contest. And this is the part where Casey disappears for a few minutes, but I don't even really notice because I am zeroed in on the surfing. I am just in hog heaven, okay? So Casey comes back and sits down, and he pulls out his Bible and he's reading this stuff. He's totally romantic, and a man should treat a woman like this, and a husband should be like that. And I'm watching the surfing. I am being the insensitive one out of us too. Yep. And so I'm like, okay, he's reading this and it sounds like it's something really special, and he's really trying to do something nice for me. So I should at least like listen. So I turned my body language toward him a little bit, but my face was still all surfing. Okay. And so then I was like, okay, Carrie, you've really got to listen to him. So I put my hand on his back and I was like, okay, maybe that'll help. And so I turned toward him again, and I caught like the last 3 words that he said. Totally didn't hear the rest, okay? Just being honest. And I repeated the last 3 words. And I'm like, oh, that was really good. You said blah, blah, blah. And I said, can you repeat that again? So he thought that I heard the whole thing, and he kind of looks at me, gives me one of those looks like, who do you think you're fooling? It's just like, okay, whatever. So he turns around, and then all of a sudden he opens up the ring box. And I will tell you guys, that was the second where my eyes went from the surfing to the ring, because I realized what was happening. And I kind of had this little intuition before that it might happen, but when the surfing came along, I just totally forgot, okay? So he opens up the ring box. He goes, Carrie Winter, that was my name. Will you marry me? And I look at him, and I look at the ring, and I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, like 20 times, okay? And then he's like, Carrie? And I was like, are you serious? Are you serious? Are you serious? Like another 20 times. And he's like, are you gonna say yes or no? I was like, yes. And so I like hop up, and I have the ring, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I look over, and Kalani was hiding behind a tree, and he's videotaping the entire engagement for us. So it was really cool. We got it on tape. And guys, note to self, ladies, if you ever propose to someone, I am going to tell you, he did a good job. There's no way I could have said no with him doing that much, like customizing to like my passions. And it should not have been all about me, because, but he did really make it about me because of the surfing part. But you guys also have to understand, he grew up on the beach, was a lifeguard, beach lifeguard, and loved the beach as well. So it just worked out way too good. And then flying us to Hawaii, oh my gosh, it was so sweet. So I don't even want to tell some people like how he did it, because some people are like, oh yeah, we were just walking along a trail and he proposed. And I'm like, hey, that's cool. If that is what works for you, you know? So everybody has to be happy with their own story. So that was my engagement story. And there's no way I could have said no when we were sitting there at a surf contest and he flew me to Hawaii. Although I already knew I was going to marry him. So there you go. All right, you guys.